Hi all, in this lecture we are going to discuss about flood prevention, preparedness and mitigation. Flood are the most frequent type of natural disaster and occur when an overflow of water submerges land that is usually dry. Floods are often caused by heavy rainfall, rapid snowmelt, or a storm surge from a tropical cyclones or tsunami in coastal areas. Floods are high stream flows which overlap natural or artificial banks of a river or a stream. And sometimes rains combine with massive flow from the river, then the flood indeed become calamities. And even after the receding of floods, it takes several months or even years for the community to come to the pre-flood status. The vulnerability of states or union territories of India due to floods was not observed seriously in the past due to low development activity and less population. However, in the present time, population and high rate of developmental activities have forced the people to occupy the flood plains and making the society highly vulnerable for flood losses. In India, 25 states and one union territory are susceptible to floods. However, the most vulnerable states in India are Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Assam, West Bengal, Gujarat, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir district face. There are 137 districts vulnerable to floods. A flood is an overflow of water on normally dry ground. This is most commonly due to an overflowing river, a dam break, snow melt, or heavy rainfall. Next causes, the primary causes for flood are small climate change, then deforestation, snow melt, collapsed dams, and other factors, and also emission of greenhouse gases. Excessive rainfall in river catchments or concentration of runoff from the tributaries and river carrying flows in excess of their capacities and poor natural drainage system and also cyclone and very intensive rainfall. Drainage system and effective infrastructure design aid during heavy rains. On account of frequent occurrences of floods, since people have learned to live with them. They have generally set up settlements away from frequently flooded area, which have been used for less important activities such as agriculture, grazing of cattle, etc. And the crops that can sustain submergence are grown in the flood prone areas during monsoon. And the flood management measures can be categorized into structural and non structural measures. Structural measures for flood management are physical in nature. Next is structural measures for flood management. First, embankment or banks, flood walls, flood lifts, and dams, reservoirs, and other water storage and channel improvement, drainage improvement, anti-erosion works, sea walls, and catchment area treatment. It's afforestation. First one is embankments or banks. The embankment system in the river restricts the river to its existing course and prevent it from overflowing the banks. And embankments are constructed generally with earth easily available from nearby areas. And in developed areas where adequate space is not available or land is very expensive, and concrete or masonry flood wells are constructed. Embankment are the most popular method of flood protection and have been constructed extensively in the past. They are designed and constructed to afford a degree of protection against flood of a certain frequency and intensity or against the maximum recorded flood depending upon the location protected and their economic justification. Embankments have provided positive benefits by ensuring protection against floods and river spills. Next, dams or reservoirs or other water storage. Lakes, low-lying depressions, tanks, dams, and reservoirs store significant proportions of flood water, and the stored water can be released subsequently. The stored water can also be subsequent power gen and meeting and drinking. In case of large multipurpose a proper reservoir regulation can be worked out for optimum benefit from the project as a whole. In channel improvement, a channel can be made to carry flood discharge at levels lower than its prevailing high flood level by improving its discharge carrying capacity. Channel improvement aim at increasing the area of flow or the velocity of flow to increase its carrying capacity. Next, diversion of flood water. Diverting all or a part of the discharge into a natural or artificially constructed channel lying within or in some cases outside the floodplains is a useful means of lowering water levels in the river. And these measures can be used successfully to prevent flooding around cities. And next, catchment treatment or afforestation. Watershed management measures such as developing the native cover, that is afforestation and conservation conservation of soil cover in conjunction with structural works like check dams, tension basins, etc. serve as an effective measure in reducing flood peaks and controlling the suddenness. And anti-erosion works means alluvial river are usually natural and therefore raise problems of erosion and tilting at various locations. This is a natural phenomenon and results in loss of land at one location and gain at some other. Geosynthetic material available in various forms like big bags and tubes, etc. can be filled inside. Next, sea walls. Erosion of land by the sea waves in coastal areas is a serious problem. Sea walls or coastal protection work in the form of groins, etc. are constructed to prevent flooding erosion in coastal areas by seawater. Next, non-structural measures. Non-structural measures strive to keep people away from floodwaters. It include floodplain zoning, flood proofing, and flood forecasting and warning. Floodplain zoning. It is natural for a river to overflow its banks in the event of heavy rainfall in its upper catchment and spill into the floodplains, which are basically its domain. Extensive and often unplanned use of floodplains by man, disregarding the basic fact that is, its part and parcel of the river leads to damage, and this is one of the main factor responsible for the flood damage reported from different parts of the increased encroachment of floodplains has been responsible for ever growing damage over the years. The basic concept of floodplain management is to regulate the land use of floodplains in order to restrict the damage of floods. Floodplain zoning is not only necessary in the case of floods by rivers, but it is also useful in reducing the damage caused by drainage congestion, particularly in urban areas. On grounds of economy and other consideration, urban drainage is not designed for the worst condition and presupposes some damage during storms whose magnitude frequently exceeds that for which the drainage system is designed. Flood-proofing measures help greatly in the mitigation of stress and provide immediate relief to the population in flood-prone areas. It is essentially a combination of structural change and emergency action, not involving any evacuation. The technique adopted consists of providing raised platforms for flood shelter for men, cattle, and raising the public utility installation, especially the platform for drinking water, hand pumps, and bore wells above foot levels, promoting construction of double story building, wherein the first bed can be used for floor can be used for taking shelter during floods. In case of urban areas, certain measures that should be taken up as soon as flood warning is received are installation of removable covers such as steel or aluminum bulk heads over doors and windows, permanent closure of low level windows, and other openings. In the existing developed area, possibilities of protecting against submergence or relocating to safer areas. Still installation like electricity substations, powerhouses, telephone exchanges, the pumping station meant for drinking water supply, etc. will be seriously examined and appropriate measures will be undertaken by the state governments to make them safe against floods. Next, flood forecasting and warning. Flood forecasting enables us to be forewarned as to when the river is going to use its floodplain, to what extent, and for how long. Forecast of a flood may be for the water level, discharge, and the area likely to be submerged at various points or particular station at a specific time. Of all the non-structural measures for flood management, which rely on the modification of susceptibility to flood damage, the one which is gaining sustained attention of the planners and acceptance of the public is flood forecasting and warning. Next, medical preparedness. Hospital staff prepare the hospital to weather a storm. Supplies and equipment must be moved to higher floor in case of flooding. After effect of flood requiring medical attention, flood as a natural disaster have a high potential of precipitating the incidences of mass casualties, and there is at risk of drowning and physical trauma along with the threat of diseases associated with contamination of water and the creation of mosquito breeding sites. Direct health effects of a flood may include drowning, injuries like cuts, sprains, fractures, electric shocks, diarrhea, vector and rodent borne disease like malaria, like that, and also skin eye infection, psychological stress. And indirect health consequences of floods are usually due to damage caused to healthcare infrastructure, a loss of essential drugs, damage to water and sanitation infrastructure, damage to crops, and all. An adverse effect of flood on health can be prevented by medical preparedness. Medical preparedness for flood constitutes the following components. First, creating awareness. The state government will take steps to create awareness the type of illnesses and other health problem that can result in the aftermath of flood, all the medical teams and the community at large. And next is medical stores. Medical kits will be prepared for the management of flood casualties and intravenous fluid, ventilators, oxygen, dressing materials, antibiotics, vaccines, anti-snake venom, and anti-diarrhea drugs will be the most commonly needed medical resources. Next, patient evacuation plan. Paramedical staff must be trained for resuscitation, triage, and to maintain vital parameters like pulse, blood pressure, and respiration, and intravenous drip during evacuation. And also, next is disaster management plan. It's to be prepared by all hospitals, medical facilities, training of medical personnel, creating awareness about drowning, and its management will be part of the plan. Hospitals must nominate an officer for coordinating management for flood casualties. Next is flood management. Flooding can occur quickly and without warning. Flood prone area is important to have to act women and emergency flood phases of emergency. Flood management plans prepared by all agencies cooperate for prior act and severity of floods. Response component of disaster management plans will involve rapid deploys along with the potential. First, emergency search and neighborhood community. Neighborhood community, the local the first response after this. Experience has shown that over 80% by the local community for the immediate and specialized rescue teams. And in search and rescue, community level teams will be developed each basic and training modules will be developed for trainers and rescue by NDRF training institutes. Next, emergency relief. Trained community level planning and distributing relief among the affected people, identifying missing, addressing the needs of education, health, and water supply, etc. of the affected community. Members of these teams will be made specific affected community will be ensured by the concerned authority. Stock will be the essential commodity. Specialized teams for response. First of all, National Disaster Response Force. 8 battalions of NDRF are being set up to provide specialized response to any threatening disaster situation or disaster. Out of these, 7 battalions are already in position. Fire and emergency services in the urban local bodies. The fire and emergency services in the urban local bodies of various states are being used as an emergency fire service force. The fire and emergency services in the flood prone areas will develop adequate capacity to respond to serious flood situations in addition to managing fires. The next is home guards, are severe as an auxiliary arm of the police of force and support the district administration in various tasks. They will be trained for carrying out search, rescue, and relief operations on occurrence of floods. Next is civil defense. The community has a major role to play both as a victim and necessarily as a first responder. Integration of the civil defense organization into disaster management can work as a great catalyst for organizing community capacity building. Civil defense has been authorized in 225 designated towns in the country, out of which 121 have already been activated, where volunteers have been rooted and trained.